So you were talking a little bit on that Lions of Liberty episode about, different like divisions of labor and how to find your
Hmm.
your niche within the movement. I'm curious how you found where you wanted to be throughout all the different things that you can do in the movement, and how you might encourage someone else to find what they might be good at.
Well, I think you just take an issue that's important to you and do something. Like we all are short on time. So if the drug war is important to you, if the police state is important to you, whatever it is, for me, my approach was it started with war. And then I made the connection, probably through reading James Madison, that war it's not just the health of the state, but it leads to the germ and danger of every other attack on liberty that's out there. Again, armies and debts and taxes are the known instruments for putting the many under the domination of the few. Those were Madison's words. And so then I'm like, well, how can I fight against the empire? Well, I can at least point out that the government is the seat of power of the empire. Everything that they do is bad. And maybe that I can chip away. I can do one thing in my life. I can maybe chip away. I can open one person's eyes to this. And I did that through blogging. And then once I opened one person's eyes, I was hungry for another and
Mm.
another and another and another. I was also willing to work a pretty shitty part-time job at $11 an hour for like 2-3 days a week for many years so I could barely eat. I didn't have a cell phone or a car or I didn't have any paid TV options. I worked 80 to 100 hours a week building things up. Now I work 40 to 60. I mean, I'm not living large, but it took a long time. Like,
Mhm.
basically, I would recommend do something you believe in because you believe in it and you love it and you care about it, whether it's blogging, making videos, doing outreach, working on legislative efforts, staying the fuck away from Washington, D.C. on all of it, because you'll never change anything in Washington, D.C. It's impossible. It is not possible. And even if you get a short-term win, generally, they're still just expanding power anyways. It doesn't matter who wins the elections in Washington. Power is always larger than it was 4 years ago. So work on things locally, community, build communities around that, and do it because you love it. And if you happen to be able to make a living out of it, that's awesome. I do. It's not an
Mhm.
amazing living, but I do make a living out of it. But if I didn't make a living out of it, I was happy to find other ways to fund ways to buy food and pay for rent so I could continue spending so much time doing something that I love. For me, it was war, but war leads to everything else. So it became very all encompassing. For someone who thinks maybe psilocybin or decriminalizing psilocybin mushrooms and things like that, you can do what they did in Denver: start a campaign, start writing letters to the
Yes.
editor, blogging, doing YouTube videos, teaching people, doing outreach to other organizations, building a website based off of the one issue, build a single issue campaign and do it. There's an old Rothbard quote, and I'll probably butcher the paraphrase, but it's basically the main task for the libertarian in the present epoch. The number one task to libertarian was to shed his needless and debilitating pessimism. That's very easy to do when you believe in liberty because you see the barrel of the gun behind every program, right?
Right.
So when you love liberty, when you're a libertarian, you recognize that everything is enforced through the barrel of a gun at some point down the line. So it's very easy to be like, man, we are screwed. There's no way to change this around. But he said, shed that, get rid of this needless and debilitating pessimism, set your sights on long run victory and set about the road to its attainment.
Shut up and sit down.